Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sara, Mehle, Index Research Strategist with Nasdaq Global Indexes, to discuss how investors can gain exposure to video gaming developers and publishers. Sara, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks, and give us an overview of the Nasdaq CTA Global Video Game Software Index.
Sure. So the Nasdaq CTA Global Video Game Software Index, or Video Game Software Index, we call it Player 2, that is its index symbol. That is a newer index that we had partnership with CTA, the Consumer Technology Association, and they create this taxonomy for us, and they're the ones that are really defining what companies classify as a video game developer or publisher. We have some liquidity constraints here on the index. New index editions need to have a minimum market cap of about $500 million and a three-month average daily traded volume of 1 million. The weighting scheme, we're using a theme-adjusted free float market cap, and we don't have any single stock weighting limits, but the aggregate weight of securities with weights above 5 may not exceed 40. So we do have the ability to kind of overweight some of those names at the top. Rebalance and reconstituted semi-annually, reconstituted semi-annually, rebalanced quarterly. And again, this is targeting those names within the video game space that are particularly developers and publishers. So looking again at those software names, we do not include any social casino companies, and companies must be domiciled outside of Russia and China.
Tell us about the top holdings.
So there's 38 stocks in total right now in Player 2. The top name you'll see there is Nintendo with about a little over 15.5% weighting. The top 20 of the index represent about 76%. So those bottom 18 are about the remaining 24%. But we see some names in here: Nintendo, Electronic Arts, Roblox, names that you would expect to be in a video games related index. And then we do see some names maybe that you're not so familiar with, and that's the beauty of using CTA as our research partner here in this index, because they really are able to dig deep, do that research for you, using a rules-based index, but really targeting those, some of those names that maybe we wouldn't think of right away when we think of video game software. But on the left, I do have two pictures there of the official Nintendo store in Tokyo in Japan. Japan does have the highest single country weighting here in this index, and again, Nintendo making up that almost 16%. But I did have the pleasure of visiting that store within the last month, so I wanted to add that picture in there. The brand is alive and well. They're focusing on, they have Mario, but then they have the newer brands like Animal Crossing and things like that. So interesting to see how they do keep innovating.
That is pretty cool. You get to go see your constituents in real time. It's a relatively new index. How has it performed relative to benchmark and the Nasdaq 100?
Yeah, so this performance period is a tough one to look back at. I mean, this index kicked off in August of 2022. So looking, at not that much data, but we are able to compare it to MV Expo and Soul Hero, two other video games related indexes, as well as the Nasdaq 100 index. And I will say that these two competitor indexes, they're not an apples to apples comparison, because like I said, this particular index is very niche, and that it's only looking at those developers and publishers. So when we do look back at performance through the end of February, the index is down cumulatively about 13%, and is outpacing Soul Hero, which is down 16%. So we are seeing that outperformance there. When we look at Soul Hero, or MV Expo, excuse me, that particular index is down about 7.5%, but that also does have names like NVIDIA in it, so kind of outside of those typical, the video game software, again, not apples to apples. But we did see the index outpace all the benchmarks, including the Nasdaq 100, through about September through October of last year. So we do know that this is a competitive index. It's just, again, with this current market backdrop, tech in general, as you know, this has just been kind of a tough period to look back at. But again, competitive with its related benchmarks.
And there are 9 stocks in this particular index that aren't held in competitor indexes.
Yeah, so there are 13 stocks that overlap between the three, Player 2, MV Espo, and Soul Hero. And those are names, again, that you would typically think of if you were thinking of video games, Nintendo, EA, companies like that. But then we do have these 9 stocks that are very unique to Player 2. I was looking through these various holdings, and Rovio Entertainment, one of the stocks, again, that is unique to Player 2, is behind something that we all are probably familiar with, Angry Birds. That was their 52nd ever launched app in that company back in 2009, and is a top paid app of all time with more than 650 million downloads. Actually 5 billion downloads through over the past 14 years. That number needs to be updated, but more than 5 billion downloads. And then we also have Frontier Developments, which is behind Roller Coaster Tycoon. So, some of these names, again, are unique just to Player 2. That focuses just solely on those video game software and publishers. And mobile apps or mobile games right now, that is where, what we're seeing the trends. Those are the most popular games right now are on mobile. We all have a phone in our hand. So these sort of, like Rovio Entertainment, these mobile focused companies really do make this particular index stand out. And the Nasdaq CTA Global Video Game Software Index is tracked by the Round Hill Video Games ETF, symbol NERD or NERD.
All right. Appreciate the insight as always, Sarah. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.